Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Zini Tutorial. Today I shall be completing the summary of the book Redemption Road by Elma. So I shall be summarizing in details chapters 21 to 34. Now to chapter 21. Everything was going wrong or had the potential to go wrong for Cobra because of Bendu. He will get his first shipment of arms, then skip town and send someone else for the second shipment. It was risky for him to still be in Morovia, not after what he had done to Bendu. Remember, he adopted Bendu. Everyone he thought would be looking for him, and he couldn't risk having the wrong people find out why he was in town. He just regretted why he didn't kill her. Aside from Bendu, he also had his own nightmares. Even his daydreams were disturbed by the screams of women, the groans of men, the cries of babies, and often by the silence that followed once he had put them out of their misery. He also remembered how the residents of Juluma feared him as if he were a beast. Sometimes he felt like screaming at them and telling them, "Look at me, I'm a human being." Back then in Duluma, in the privacy of his room, in the darkest and quietest hours of the night, he would sometimes break down and weep. No one loved him. They all saw him as a monster. He put the lights out in their eyes. When every now and then, all he wanted to do was make their eyes sparkle. Even the respect that men showed him was born out of fear. Recently, the only thing that kept the nightmares away were the drugs, that is cocaine, heroin, marijuana he took. On the outside, he had to put up a front, appear strong, pretend he was still a vicious, deadly, dangerous cobra, ready to strike anyone at any time. But inside, he had an intense love for the common man and a rage for those who hated progress, just like George Dagoshi. After a lot of thought about Duluma, the freedom of Liberia, and its yet to be concluded business, he gets a call from Chief telling him about a writ of arrest that is out for him for assault and battery on Bendu Lewis. The chief tells him to get out and meet him at the Painesville house. Vanny asks about the almost concluded mission, and the chief seems not to trust him, but he assures the chief that he is fully committed on the mission. Now to chapter 22. Chapter 22 is a continuation of Bendu's dream in chapter 20. The angry villagers start to lead her back to Duluma, but then one by one the villagers disappear, and soon she is walking alone. The road begins to incline until she finds herself climbing a mountain. She reaches the mountain top and looks all around at the landscape below. It is beautiful, she is happy, and she is free. When she wakes up, she wants to shout for joy. Her recurring nightmares has a different ending this time. It has become a freedom dream. She freshens up and walks down the hallway looking for her sister Siata. Sarata informs her that Councillor Gray calls to tell her that Cobra has managed to dodge the police officers. Sarata wonders who had told Cobra about the writ of arrest because no one knew about it apart from them and the court. Gray tells her that it probably could be an employee in the court who has a connection with Cobra and his people. Bendu responds that integrity would put food in their children's mouths because government employees have not been paid for 7 months in Liberia. Bendu asks Gray who called him with the tip of Cobra's escape, and he said that the person wouldn't leave his name but said, "Just tell my sister nothing spoil." Bendu is shocked to hear that, and her mind goes to Wee. Remember Wee, Cobra's driver and his PA, who was part of an accomplice in the abduction of Bendu. Her mind goes to Wee, Cobra's driver, but she keeps the information to herself. After Councillor Gray leaves, Bendu and Sarata go to the balcony overlooking Sekou Tour Avenue and discuss. They talk about the different NGOs in Liberia. Then Bendu asks of Terence, Sarata's husband, but Sarata replies she has no idea when he will be coming back. Sarata talks about Bendu calling their parents to inform them about the secret in Duluma, to how Calvin is taking everything after the secret was revealed. Bendu tells her that he hasn't talked to her since the secret was revealed at the hospital. Sarata hopes Calvin doesn't bring the Liberian man nonsense to Bendu, even though she confirms that Calvin likes Bendu. Bendu asks what Sarata means by the Liberian man nonsense. Then Sarata talks about married men having extramarital affairs, having girlfriends and secret children. Then she opens up to her sister about her crumbling marriage. How Terence cheats on her with other women, sometimes coming home by past midnight smelling like cheap perfumes. Once he even had the nerve to tell her he was keeping company with other women because Sarata refused to sleep with him. Meanwhile, Sarata is afraid of getting HIV, which is a rampant disease with no access to antiretroviral drugs. Bendu's mind does to Sarata's grand wedding with all these promises of happily ever after. Now, a summary of chapter 23. Bendu goes to work on Monday afternoon and meets Josephine and Rosetta, who are extremely excited to see her. Tene comes with the news that she didn't have TB as everyone had suspected, but an infection which, although serious, was not contagious. The girls all have series of questions for Bendu since they had not seen her after the attack with Cobra. Bendu reveals to the girls that she had a baby in Duluma camp and abandoned the baby. Tene is encouraged with Bendu's revelation, and she tells them that she is HIV positive. She tells them she isn't scared of dying, but only scared of how people will act if they find out. Now to chapter 24. Please, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please try and subscribe so that you get more content from me. And for my returning subscribers, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now let's move on. Chapter 24. Agnes tells Bendu to forgive Cobra, but Bendu says she needs to get justice, not just for herself, but for others. Agnes gives Bendu an assignment to write a letter to Cobra or Samson or whoever she feels she needs to talk to. that it will help sort out her feelings. Bennu tells her she will give it a try. Bennu goes to her temporary home, that is Siata's house, after the day's work. And she notices the dining table is adorned with a stunning bouquet. Siata tells her it is from Calvin. Remember, Calvin has not talked to Siata after the incident at the hospital. Siata tells Bennu that Calvin said he ran off because he needed some time to deal with his own demons. Siata tells Bennu that Calvin used to be in love with her when they were kids, and she wondered why the two of them never got together. Bennu replied that he was Benji's friend and they were always together, that she thinks she saw him as another brother even after Benji's death. Bendu informs Siata that she wants to look for her daughter, baby girl. Summary of chapter 25. On Tuesday morning, Bennu goes to the ICRC, that is the International Committee of the Red Cross, to help trace her daughter. The officer in charge, Gabriel, gives her a tracing request form. She looks at it and blinks back till she tells Gabriel the first thing on the form is name, and she doesn't know her daughter's name. Remember, she didn't give her daughter a name, but everyone called her baby girl or baby girl with their Liberian accent. Gabriel asks her some questions and tells her to fill the form even if she will have to leave some spaces blank, that the little information she has might turn out to be useful. She includes Mamusa and her daughter's names. She includes Mamusa and her daughter's names as likely people who might know her daughter's whereabouts. Chapter 26. Vanny, also known as Cobra, looks in total disbelief as he watches the footage of the World Trade Center towers in USA hijacked. It makes him reflect back on his life and realizes that with all those years trying to lead his people out of subjugation, there was nothing to show for it. Rather, things were getting worse instead of better, and the poor were getting poorer. The chief had instructed that the mission be put on hold and it should remain in Painesville House. It should remain in Painesville House until further notice. As he watches the hijacking of the World Trade Center, that's the WTC, in America, he asks himself, what if one or two of the terrorists had changed their minds? The whole operation would have been messed up. He says there's no place for traitors in a revolution. Then his mind darts back to the 12 guys at Duluma who plotted to betray and expose the camp to enemy factions and how he beheaded them. His mind also darts back to his childhood days, how his weak uncle, who he lived with, was so weak, and how his uncle's boss used him as a slave. Not only the boss, his uncle could not stand up to his wife, and he allowed the wife maltreat Vanny, and the woman refused to send him to school until he finally ran away and lived on the streets. While thinking of his childhood days, how he lived on the streets, stealing and having to eat the leftovers of strangers, suddenly he hears a noise outside this door. Now this is the last part, that is part 3. Peace is your reward. And it starts from chapter 27. Late Sunday afternoon, Bendu, Siata and Terence were relaxing together for the first time since Bendu moved into the Mamba Point apartment, that is Siata's home. Bendu had said beforehand that she would not eat too much food because she had a date with Calvin, but the food was just so irresistible that she could not avoid it. She and Calvin had been spending a lot of time together lately. Her thoughts go to Siata and Terence. From there to she and Calvin. Suddenly, she gets distracted by Sarah, the housekeeper, who is heading towards the kitchen with a pile of newspapers in her arms. Bendu asked the woman what she was doing with the papers. Terence tries to distract Bendu from the newspapers by offering her magazines. Bendu insists and Sarah brings the papers. She picks up all the papers and she begins to sort them out date by date. Suddenly, a front page story catches her eyes, and she screams, "The death of Moses Vanny, also known as Cobra." Remember in the previous chapter, Vanny hears a footstep. Which means that footstep was the person who killed him. And I'm beginning to suspect that it's the chief who is in contact with that killed him, because Vanny had not been working alongside the rules. Vanny has been distracted by Bendu. So I'm beginning to suspect that the chief who killed him. Bendu is very shocked and asks why the police or Consuelo Gray didn't contact her about it. Terence suggests Cobra killed himself. Santa and Bendu try to figure out who killed Cobra and why he was killed. What was the motive? Terence tries to distract them and tells Bendu she should be happy the man is dead, that she can go back to her home. The two sisters both look at him in shock. Sata tells Bendu that she suspects her husband has been up to something lately. Bendu dresses up, waiting for Calvin. By the time the doorbell rings, instead of Calvin are two policemen who come to arrest Bendu for the murder of Moses Vanny. Just then, Calvin arrives. Now, chapter 28. Bendu is shocked when the police officers pull a pair of handcuffs from his belt to put on her wrist. After a little controversy between Bendu, Calvin, and the policemen, Siata and Terence come down with the building's security guard. Terence examines the warrant by the policeman and says the warrant is legit. Siata pleads with Terence to call the chief of police, Kesely, but Terence tells her that he has not been in touch with Kesely for ages. Calvin tells Calvin takes charge and tells Siata that they will both go to the police station to straighten things out. Bendu calls Consuelo Gray to meet them at the police station. At the police station, Consuelo Reeves comes with Consuelo Gray to rescue Bendu. Lieutenant Tappe arrives very late to question Bendu. After a series of questions, Lieutenant Tappe tells Bendu that she will stay in detention until the result of the investigations are on or are out. Chapter 29. As they meet Calvin and Seattle waiting, Lieutenant Appel tells them he will let Bennu go on her own recognizance. As they head back to Mama Point, that is Seattle's house, Bennu announces that she would love to go back to her home since Cobra is dead. But Seattle and Calvin tried to discourage her, that it could be risky and dangerous going back. As Seattle and Bennu enter Seattle's apartment, Sharon's phone begins to ring, and Seattle decides to play detective to know who was calling her husband and what her husband has been up to. Please, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please try and subscribe. Like and share. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Summary of chapter 30. Finally, Bennu goes home. She calls Agnes to say she won't be coming to the office. Agnes has a lot of good news for her concerning PIP, that's Peace in Progress, that's Bennu's non-governmental organization, targeted at people going through trauma after the war. Bennu's mind drifts to a lot of things, one of them being Calvin professing his love for her at the police station and promising to be there to help her get over any obstacle on her way to recovery. Her mind also drifts to Jonah. She picks up all his pictures in a study shoebox and places the box out of sight. She picks up all his pictures around her house, puts them in a study shoebox, and places the box out of sight on the shelf of her wardrobe. Chapter 31. Lieutenant Tape's promise to continue investigating Bennu for murder proved to be an empty threat. Bennu's thought constantly goes to her daughter, baby girl. She hopes her daughter will be found. Things at PIP are moving smoothly. One Saturday morning, as she was thinking of going over to Sarta's place, Sarta suddenly shows up looking distraught. Sarta tells Bennu that Terence was behind her arrest. Sarta also tells Bennu that Terence had lied to them, that he hadn't spoken to the police chief, Kesely, for ages. But she has seen Kesely's number among both the received and dialed calls. Sarta also tells Bennu that she had been eavesdropping on his calls and she thinks Terence has something to do with helping Cobra avoid the writ of arrest. Remember, Terence and Bennu were wondering who was behind giving Cobra all the information about the writ of arrest. So finally we found out it was Terence, the brother-in-law of Bennu, that was behind it. Bennu finally realizes that her family do not have any bad feeling against her concerning Granny Mae's death and Orlando's capture. Seattle assures her of that. Even though she feels distraught, she feels bad that Terence betrayed her. Chapter 32. Things get a lot busier at Peace in Practice. Remember, I told you things are going smoothly. Thanks to the help of Calvin's widely read articles. PIP receives different recognitions and several visits from other humanitarian organizations. an innovative truth project, which was Agnes' brainchild, gets more grants to support and extend their work. Bendu had told Calvin that she just wants to be friends with him. There was chaos in Morovia, and Seattle experiences it face to face. Now she understands how it was like during the war. Remember, Seattle at the beginning of the book was insensitive to war victims, but now she has experienced a little chaos in Morovia, and now she feels the pains of what war victims go through. In the middle of all the commotion, Eva Lewis arrives. That is Bendu's mother. She returns from the US to Morovia to prepare for her once annual April pilgrimage to Benji's grave. Although it was 22 years since Benji was killed, April was always a tough one for the Lewis family. Eva Lewis was known to sink into a dark and tearful depression for weeks. She tells her daughter she had come for Benji, she had come for her two daughters, Bendu and Louise, and she had come for her granddaughter, baby girl. For 22 years, Eva Lewis had concentrated on the death of her son, Benji, and ignored the feelings of her two daughters, Bendu and Siata. Eva narrates the story of Benji's death to her daughters, a story they never heard of. She tells them that after the coup, they knew the soldiers will come for their dad. So Benji, Siata, and Bendu were sent to Calvin's home, reasons being that his parents were well known and adored by everyone because of the university scholarship they provided every year for underprivileged students. They thought no one would touch them in Calvin's house. Some soldiers went there, accompanied by some university students. Obviously, the university students who were not given scholarship, that's what they are suspecting. The soldiers give CJ and Angela Daniels, that is Calvin's parents, some punishments. They make them to kneel down on piles of broken glass, while their men went in to search the house for money. Benji and Calvin have been looking out of the second floor bedroom window when the students arrived with the soldiers. When the soldiers dragged Calvin's parents and began to strip them, Benji goes to hide his sisters, while Calvin remains at the window, paralyzed by what was happening to his parents. It wasn't until the men entered the house that Calvin went to hide. The soldiers found Benji first, because obviously there was no other place to hide. The one who opened the closet yelled, "There is their son." Calvin said he saw Benji look back once as if he expected him to come out and claim his rightful title. Benji looked at him, expecting him to come out and say, "He is not the son, I am their son." But Calvin didn't come out. Benji was shot on the staircase of the Calvin's house. The summary of chapter 33. Eva Lewis becomes a different woman as she had promised her daughters. Remember, she told her daughters previously that she had come for her 2 daughters and she had come for her granddaughter, baby girl. On the 15th of April, the anniversary of Benji's death, the 3 Lewis women go to Benji's grave. On getting there, they meet a large wreath propped up on the headstone, and the women know that carving had been there. Soon after the pilgrimage of Benji's death, Grandma Eva, as she called herself, starts to prepare for her granddaughter baby girl's arrival. The day after baby girl's room was finished, Gabriel from the ICRC comes with a ray of hope news concerning the whereabouts of baby girl. Now to the last chapter, chapter 34. Bendu sits down in her office and writes a letter to Benji, Granny May, Jonah, Commander Cobra. Remember, Agnes had been telling her to write a letter since, though she had been postponing it, but she decides to write it today. From her letter, we find out that Seattle had filed a divorce from Terence at the end of April and had been working on air ever since. That is, Seattle had become free. We, the readers, also find out that her daughter May is home. She's the spitting image of Granny May. Her grandpa, that is Bendu's dad, comes to Liberia the minute he sees his mother's face on baby girl. Bendu asks Calvin to be her godfather, that's baby girl's godfather, and he plays the role perfectly. To the extent that baby girl pleads with Bendu that can she kindly remove the God from the father and let it be father. After Seattle's experience in Gardensville, Morovia, remember Seattle experienced a commotion in Gardensville in Morovia. She suddenly becomes sensitive to the war-affected victims going through trauma. She also reveals in her letter that in the search of May, she tries looking for Orlando, but there was no trace of him, unfortunately. She also writes that she heard something about Samson, that is now a musician singing songs for peace. And we come to the end of Redemption Road by Elma Shaw. I hope you enjoyed the book, and I also hope it's going to help you a lot in your studies. Remember, the book is for work in 2 years' time. Thank you so much for joining in. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share, and give this video a thumbs up. Bye.